Here's where I stopped. I'm back in the black and white. I had gone to the blue because of the missing page. I know the focus is bad, but the thing is, I think listening is maybe better than trying to deal with the frustration of not quite being able to read that. All right. The forces so far mentioned to centralize or decentralize have been active for thousands of years. Recently, however, what seem to be new forces have presented themselves, and their strength appears to be awesome. They may not be new at all, but rather merely continuing and accumulating effects of a process that is proceeding geometrically, but it is most convenient to discuss them as new. One has been the loss of the freshness of the environment to the effects and demands of a centralized state. Energy is a prime example. Energy, formerly a limiting factor in the lengths of cycles of material flows, we have recently found in great supply in our fresh world. The cost in money, as usually measured, of transporting cattle across a continent has been fantastically reduced. Of course, we have not included in the cost the loss of the world's freshness, but it has only very recently appeared that this freshness is not infinite. This new force is a decentralizer. Another new force, a centralizer, has been trinket buying. Curiosity may be as old as man or life, but trinkets have been the recent products of centralization. Beads, transistor radios, color televisions, tourism have all been consumed with tremendous appetite. Some of the trinkets have proven themselves dangerous, like modern diets, and some, alarmingly, have proven themselves both dangerous and habit-forming. Centralized farming may be hooked on chemical trinkets, which must be taken in ever-increasing amounts. Sometimes looking back from the present mess and knowing that what one knows now, one wonders that centralization and its products could have been so unquestionably and unanimously bought. To be sure, there must be many trinkets that have proven themselves worthwhile. Certainly the sewing machine, the bicycle, and electric lights, though the last thing have not yet isolated themselves. But how to explain electric knife sharpeners or electric heat? Can native curiosity take all the credit and blame? I think not. A third new force has entered here, which has been one of centralization's most powerful weapons, advertising. The trinkets have not only been bought, but also very actively sold. Gullibility may be as old as curiosity, but it has been only very recently that research has presented us with the science of using it. The trinkets of this new science is the triumph of this new science is the consumption rate of the thoroughly centralized average American. It has been advertising that has kept the growth of the GNP booming along to absurd and frightening levels, promoting not only individual trinkets, but the new trinket lifestyle as a whole. It has even managed to make centralist capital out of decentralist impulses. For example, the wish to get away from it all, or the do-it-yourself market. In the latter example, careful use of the ideal of private ownership has cluttered the American domestic scene with 10 times the number of power tools that could be used efficiently with a minimum of decentralized centralization. That is public tool libraries or good rental systems. For as long as the material growth ethic holds dominion, as the measure of success, however, advertising's role must be regarded as beneficial, as must indeed be that of centralization itself. The pros and cons of the centralization process, of which there are many more, thus have been such that the vote has been overwhelmingly to centralize, and we have been doing this with enormous haste. The haste has been such that it has occurred to some that the process is out of control. Is there anyone that could stop it or even slow it? Some of the streets we have come down may have been one way, and some of the bridges we have crossed, though we gave it little attention at the time, we have burned. Can a corporation decide to shrink without losing its shareholders? Can the President of the United States decide to reduce the GN? That's the GN without being thrown out of office? GNP, gross national product. At the foci of control, stopping or turning back the centralization process is suicidal as long as the growth ethic pervades. And yet we may be coming to a dead end. Both material growth and centralization appear to be approaching natural limits. There are many signs and a growing belief that centralization is failing as a way of human life, and that the technology that accompanies it will not be the savior of mankind. The feedback is coming in on a personal psychological wavelength and on a public ecological wavelength. On the personal wavelength, perhaps the first signals we get indicate that our occupational lives are far from satisfactory. It has become platitudinal to compare the old-time shoemaker to his modern assembly line counterpart, and assembly line work is generally deplored. Yet it is inevitable that as one facilitates and centralizes, that as facilities are centralized, they increase in scale to the human individual, his hands and his role. And even those individuals who command the centralized facility no longer have the complete command that the shoemaker had. One makes stitches, another makes decisions, but no one makes shoes. Perhaps it is because enough of us believe we have escaped or avoided the assembly line that the system can go on. But who, in the developed world nowadays, can honestly claim to be free of it? There are still hundreds of millions of non-assembly line craftsmen in the world. But as a group, we are crusading to centralize them out of existence, ignoring the feedback regarding our own occupational dissatisfaction and the pitiful do-it-yourself symptom. I had somebody complain about that why is that pitiful to do it yourself? Well, I guess I can't explain now, but I just find it's sort of, so desperate. The change in scale between the human individual and the systems that support him, which has accompanied centralization, has resulted in the increased difficulty of understanding those systems. Wedge paradigm, I wrote there in my spelling system. Our activities have become so specialized that, far from understanding complete systems, at best we achieve some understanding of the wheel upon which our lives are cogs. We may now have a more thorough knowledge of many parts, but our working knowledge of wholes has suffered. Perhaps to appreciate the difference between the centralized and the decentralized understanding, one has to be able to catch at least a glimpse of the second, a rare experience in the modern world. But in the forgotten corners there lingers a different understanding, one of wholes, and I have felt it briefly in the northeast of Brazil. How much clearer is the technical air there. In the modern United States, understanding of wholes is so unlikely a possibility that it is rarely even pursued, liberal arts education to the contrary. Not understanding fully the whole systems that support us, our sources or our sinks, psychologically, we float in air. Apart from our occupational lives, we are getting other signals that all is not well psychologically or socially. For one thing, the institution of the family may be breaking down, though this may be less earth-shattering than it first appears. Quote, "What we watch today is the disintegration of the family, which, we were taught, was universal and eternal. It is neither. Its significance was sparse, I suspect, before farming succeeded the hunting ban 10,000 years ago. But if the technology of farming did or did not create the individual family as a significant social unit, then, with small argument, it is technology, man's Frankenstein, that is destroying it." I'm going to have to stop somewhere, so I guess I'll stop here. All right, see you next time.